Hello and welcome to episode 148 of the Nerds at Large Gaming Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Darby Hallman.
I'm Jeff Mayo.
And Jeffrey.
Darby?
We just watched Ubisoft Forward. If anyone's tuning on twitch.tv/Nerds at Large Gaming, they just saw us react to their conference. If you didn't tune in live, if you're watching this later on podcast or YouTube, you can go find that at youtube.com/Nerds at Large and see our reactions during the moment. I'd say probably the most discussions came from Watch Dogs Legion.
Oh yeah, we're going to discuss it some more, baby. Let's go.
That's what we are going to discuss some more in just a minute. So this is going to be a slightly different podcast. We're doing it like right after this reactions. Might be a little bit shorter because of that and the other things like that. But yeah, that is that. I guess before we get into talking about that conference, I just have a few housekeeping things. This is the last week. I'm probably going to promote this at the top, but please go check out The Last of Us Part 2 Spoilercast with Respawn Aim Fire that we just recorded a few weeks ago. It's real good. We are going to be doing another Last of Us Part 2 Spoilercast on our Nerds at Large Spoilercast podcast feed and on YouTube with Mr. William Outlaw. He is currently playing through it. Whenever he gets done and whenever he's free, we'll do that. No timetable on that at the moment, but that will happen. So look forward to that. Yeah, and that's about it.
Yeah, well, about 2 weeks from now, Dari, we're at a special episode number.
Yes, we will have our episode 150 spectacular in just like 2 weeks, I guess.
Yep, and we got something planned.
We do have something planned.
So I need to record at some point.
But in the meantime, we have this we had quarantine recommendation games or whatever. We had that opening segment going for a while. We're gonna have episode 150. It's gonna be more an opening segment. It's gonna be the whole daggone thing. But we didn't have quarantine recs to guide us into that. So I wanted to have another opening segment, to help bridge us there. And this opening segment is going to be called That's Hot Springs. Jeffrey, take this question however you see fit. Would you rather see an anime hot spring scene between Cloud Strife and Barrett Wallace or Geralt and Zoltan from Witcher 3?
Geralt and Zoltan.
Okay, why?
I think just because the dialogue and banter and the stories that would potentially be told be a lot more interesting than Cloud and Barrett.
That is true. Cloud's pretty quiet.
Yeah.
And Geralt's hot.
It's true.
That's hot. Springs. Jeff, let's get into the news. News jingle.
Jingle, jingle, jingle. I didn't know that it was coming.
The best opening segment to ever exist, Jeff. I think we learned a lot.
Are you going to bring...
Okay. Let me work. You worry about you. I worry about me. Okay.
You're the opening segment guy.
Yeah. My opening segments that I think about literally 10 minutes before walking into the podcast. Jeffrey, Ubisoft Forward.
Yep.
It happened.
Yep.
It was all right.
Yeah.
It was okay. Do we want to talk about it overall, or you want to just jump straight into Watch Dogs Legion? That's what
are we going to talk about something else first?
Oh, right. Duh. Yeah, sorry. I'm already going off script. We're loosey-goosey. It's all over the place. Yes, actually, more important, serious news before we get into that.
Yes. I'm just going to go ahead and just read this thing. This comes from Brendan Sinclair from GameIndustry.biz. 3 high-ranking Ubisoft executives have stepped down after a recent wave of allegations of sexual misconduct and a toxic culture throughout the company. The publisher today announced that Chief Creative Officer Sergei Haskowit, Managing Director of Canadian Studios Yanis Malat, and its global head of HR Cecile Cornet would no longer be filling those roles. It said that they stepped down following the initiation of a rigorous review that the company initiated in response to recent allegations and accusations of misconduct and inappropriate behavior. A report in the French newspaper Liberation yesterday identified Haskowit as playing a central role in the company's culture problems, with one source saying the executive has the most toxic behavior in the whole business. Quote, Ubisoft has fallen short in its obligation to guarantee a safe and inclusive workplace environment for its employees, said Ubisoft CEO and co-founder Yves Guillemot. This is unacceptable, as toxic behaviors are in direct contrast to values on which I have never compromise and never will. I am committed to implementing profound changes across the company to improve and strengthen our workplace culture. Moving forward, as we collectively embark on a path leading to a better Ubisoft, it is my expectation that leaders across the company manage their teams with the utmost respect. I also expect them to work to drive the change we need, always thinking of what is best for Ubisoft and all of its employees. End quote. Guillemot will be filling Huskowit's role on an interim basis, where he will manage a complete overhaul of the way in which the creative teams collaborate. Ubisoft specified that Mallet will leave the company because the recent allegations that have come to light in Canada against multiple employees make it impossible for him to continue in this position.
Yeah, so this was, I mean, obviously I'm not super familiar with all the individual higher-ups and all these, the specific, I had never heard this guy's name, but, after hearing about his job and especially hearing, game journalists and people who, know more about it, sounds like he was a very, very big deal, as far as the actual games being made and the direction of Ubisoft's games and the company in general. So, I mean, it does show that we with especially this new movement and with everything that's happening, that even the most important people are not safe, and they shouldn't be safe. Clearly, that it is pretty wild. It's obviously these stories are getting more and more common, but that doesn't make them any less impactful and meaningful and rough to see as well.
So interesting timing for all this to happen the day before the Ubisoft Forward. A lot of times when something happens, not necessarily in the company, sometimes people throw up a statement when an event happens. Ubisoft decided not to do that. In fact, in a tweet earlier today, they said that they were, because this is a pre-recorded thing, they were not going to do or say anything about the stuff in it, which is definitely a cop-out. Because you could have easily recorded something just nice and quick and have thrown it at the beginning. It's been
enough days in advance. All you had to do was have Guillemot come out there and say, "Hey, we understand this happened." Whatever.
And I'm gonna assume
even just text on the screen saying, "Hey, we know this happened. We are committed to such and such."
I think a big part of the reason is because this is a lot of people that probably watched that don't know this happened, and they don't want to put that in people's mind as they're watching their games.
I think that is a big part of it. I mean, I think the fact that this happened right before it's they're coming out on stage, and right before all the eyes are on them, this happens, and they didn't want to marry those things together too much, which is probably not good. It's that's something that it's other companies have done. Have had these type of things and have actually addressed them. So seems like they should have as well. Yeah. But I guess it is good that he wasn't safe from these. That was a big move for Ubisoft to make, even if they probably should have owned it more. But it's definitely going to be interesting having one of the central people as far as making Ubisoft what Ubisoft is gone.
Yeah, I guess we said about what we said as far as that kind of stuff goes. From the games perspective, pretty much. They already said they were going to try to move away from their games pretty much having a Ubisoft formula as much. And considering the guy who was in charge of that, or charge of having a Ubisoft formula is gone.
Right.
I guess that thing will definitely more likely to happen, or maybe even a crazier departure from it. Hopefully,
who knows? Yeah, who knows? At the very least, obviously, internally, workplace issues need to change.
Yeah,
but
it's obviously good for the other employees at Ubisoft that these apparently very toxic people are now gone, at least from the position. It seems at least one of them is left. I thought I saw the other ones might have just been gone, but it sounds like as of right now, it's just the one.
Yeah. Obviously, we're not the best people to talk about this, but we feel it's important to say regardless, especially before we start going into a bunch of just video game stuff. It's important to address the more serious side that's going on, as it feels like we have to do every week at this point, but it's important.
Yep.
But with that being said, Let's talk about some video games.
Okay.
Because there were some video games shown today.
There were
not
some video games.
Too many that were not too many total, and definitely not many that we're interested in. But there is one.
There's one, and they started the show with it.
They started the show with a pretty extensive Watch Dogs Legion thing.
Let's go, baby.
You got the cinematics and the gameplay, and they still had the very cool. I will still always say that, like, regardless however this game turns out, I think that the marketing has always been really cool. How they're like, oh, this situation, and like, how would it be different with this person? Oh, how would it be different with this person? And, you know, they do that in really cool ways.
Yeah. What makes me kind of excited for this game, and of course, like, you know, you talked during it that you're skeptical of it, and I'm skeptical to a point too. Of course, I think everyone should be until at least until maybe we hear some of these gameplay impressions that are now out for this game.
That will help.
That will 100% happen as long as they're positive and all that. But even if it's not as far as I want it to go, I think I at least will have a good time with this game, because even just with Watch Dogs 2, kind of more limited version of this stuff, I had a lot of fun. And the Ubisoft style, or those open world style games, they're usually not my thing at all. But there are a couple that kind of grab me and I can get really into. And just everything that we saw from this presentation, what I know I like from Watch Dogs 2, is like, okay, I think I would really like this game, if not outright love it. Just based on what we're seeing. And yeah, if it goes as far as it's saying, that will be a big bonus. But one thing that you made me think about, that I'm hoping it is a thing. You're talking about like the characters and stuff, and not being able to feel for these characters, potentially just the way it's all set up and all that. While it's really cool that it looks like every single kind of major cutscene, it can, you know, the character you're currently controlling will be in it, and that will be who are voicing it, and maybe affected up to a point. But as far as like feeling for these characters from a narrative perspective, what might hurt it is, while the villains are the same throughout the whole thing, I'm hoping there's at least a couple central good guys, like, or guys on your team that are always there and are part of the story throughout the whole thing.
Command at the top or something, even if you're not playing as them,
or some tech person that's kind of doing something like that.
Because my thing this whole time, and I'm not trying to sound like super negative, it just seems like this is a very hard thing to do, what they're doing, and it hasn't really been done before. With we're trying to tell you this cool like narrative single player thing, but you can recruit anybody, play as all these different things, anyone can die at any time, all these other all of that. There's just a lot of concerns gameplay wise that we can definitely get into, but even like you were saying, narrative, I could see like, well, if you get to the end of this game and there's like a dramatic scene with a character that I literally just got for the first time, it's like, oh well, this random construction worker just happened to be the final boss one. I could just see it like not completely landing, or it just feeling like every interaction had to make sense with a super assassin hitman or a grandma. Like they all, like, either one of those characters have to be able to slot into any position in the story. So like, can you, like, how far can you really go with that when you have to be able to copy and paste anyone into it? You know, it might not feel as tailored or as like,
that is definitely I think a concern.
It's just, I mean, it's a problem. I'm sure they know. I mean, you don't go into this game without thinking about some way out of that type of problem. But I could really see this game, like, early impressions, and even you get it, and other, you might just love the whole thing, but a lot of people might get it and early on be really digging it, but by hour like 6 or 7 or something, they might be like, all right, kind of don't really care about any of these characters, and the whole gimmick is kind of worn off of me, and then it just might end up feeling kind of hollow after that.
So potentially for me, and I'm just speaking for me, not saying like, Watch Dogs 2 didn't have a particularly great story, great memorable one. Like, I can't remember too much for it. And I think I beat it, or I almost beat it. Point is, I played most of that game and not the whole thing. I don't remember much from that character. It was the gameplay that really got me and all that. And I think for this, what they had on, that will get me. So I can still love it, but even if the story stuff isn't up to the thing. Not to say, that stuff shouldn't be talked about or criticized. If it is the way we're talking, potentially.
Yeah, but no. And I think this, even though the like, when you stop and think about everything that's happening in this game, it's kind of serious stuff, but it's definitely made in a very like playful sandbox, like go crazy type of way. It doesn't, I don't think it's going to be like some crazy gripping narrative, and that's not what it's supposed to be. But even from the gameplay side, it's, again, I think it could be awesome, but it also could fall apart really quickly, because, I mean, will it be one of those things that's like, there are so many characters, but once you start playing, it's like, okay, there's really actually like 5 characters. They're just all presets. There's different skins for these 5 types of characters or everything. And that would be disappointing. And this is what I was saying on stream. That would be disappointing. And the only other way I could see it going is that like, they're all very different and you level them all up differently, but when they die, you like lose everything. It's like, that also sounds really
well, that's
obnoxious.
one thing I definitely want to hear from impressions, how like leveling up or that kind of stuff works. Like, and again, we'll probably have that answered right after we're done recording this.
Yeah. You can go look at other stuff.
Yeah. And I might, depending on what we're talking about next week, I might bring up like what some impressions says and my impressions
of impressions.
Yeah, because I am very hyped for this game. I have been since it was announced. So
it's a very cool concept.
Yeah, I am very looking forward to this game. It's coming out October 29th. There was a rumor of it coming out in September. I was hoping it was going to do that because it filled the hole that Cyberpunk did. That would have instantly probably made it a day one for me.
Yeah.
It could still potentially, depending on how other things go out, because while it is closer than I would like, it's 3 weeks before Cyberpunk.
Yeah, you could beat it. I mean,
or at least get mostly done with it.
It's probably not. I wouldn't think it would be like a freaking 25, 30-hour game. I would think more like 10 to 15, but I don't know.
Yeah. I think maybe more in the middle of that. I can see it'd be like the 25, 30-ish hour thing. Hopefully not really any more than that.
That would take me longer than that, probably.
Yeah. But, so, I'm looking forward to this game. That's it. To me, it was the highlight. And just from the gameplay thing, I have more hope for like differences in gameplay just based on what they showed. Just showing like with the construction work, you have this big drone thing that you can hype on. Like when they showed that cinematic movie thing, as like in the girl hacker got on that, it's like, okay, you got to get on that thing, right? You can't just show us this and not do it. I'm glad during the gameplay they showed it's like, awesome, let's go.
Yeah.
And just showing enough like with the girl with the drone and just all that kind of stuff, and just kind of the other idea stuff they show is like, I think there might be enough there, even if they're not like each character is different. There's going to be a lot of crossing over, but let's say there's like half a dozen main archetypes that are different enough. As far as me, like in Watch Dogs 2, I did the role-playing stuff where I tried to do more hacking and all that kind of stealthy stuff. With this, I can definitely see myself getting to, just for the fun of it, like, okay, makes sense to use this person. I'm going to try to do it like it is this person, that type of thing.
Right. And so it might incentivize you to play different play styles.
Yes, and that's what has me excited.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping it's not just clear, like, oh, this one archetype or one character is just overpowered in every situation. So that's what... Yeah. I don't know if that will be the case, but... I mean,
some people who don't want to do the variety as much might end up not liking this game because it's like, it's just boring. I just go in there and shoot everyone every time, and it's boring.
That stuff definitely happened with Watch Dogs 2, where people just use the whole shooting thing.
Right, which, I mean, that's valid if you didn't want to do the other things. The game needs to make it fun for everyone, regardless how you approach it. But I hate to sound so negative. I'm just like...
No, you're bringing up valid points.
I don't know where, like, if you bullet to my head, I think this game's going to be slightly disappointing. I think overall it's going to be like 7-ish, and I think there are going to be people who really like it, but I think there's going to be a lot of people that are like, it's a video game. Where I think it's going. This game, I would predict, is going to have some coming down to earth. That's going to be like so crazy. Oh my god, it's going to be amazing. You get in there and you'd be like, okay, some of these things are true, but it's also you can see through. You can see the video gaminess about it and be like, okay, this is what they wanted to do, but there's really like 5 presets and the whole like. Instead, the granny's a construction worker might not be very fun, might not be very entertaining at the end of the game as it is in the beginning. That's what I would predict at this point. I really hope I'm wrong. I'm wrong, but either way, I'm probably not going to get it. Watch Dogs has just never really been my thing, and even Watch Dogs 2, when I was like doing the hacking and doing all of that, I was like, I just never really enjoyed it that much. But that's more of a personal thing.
Also, speaking of the hacking, it's showing the hacking and moving around cars, that kind of stuff. I just have fun with messing around with for a little while.
Yeah, that's cool.
To break up all the craziness. Okay, they showed Brawlhalla. It's coming to mobile. Cool. Might and Magic. I can't even remember what they said for that. I guess it's doing well. Tom Clancy's Elite Squad Mobile.
Sorry, Will. That's the
Sam Fisher, baby.
Sorry, Will.
Yeah, I don't know if that was an announcement of that or what.
If so, it's a second mobile game with a bunch of Tom Clancy characters. So.
Yeah. So, yeah. They showed something about Rainbow Six Siege, but we were talking about other stuff at the time, so I had no idea what they
You don't come here for that.
No. Hyperscape. We got a While there have been plenty of gameplay videos and all that kind of stuff about it, I guess I can't speak for you. I haven't watched too much of that kind of stuff. Read out some stuff. But
I've seen a lot of preview stuff about it. I've seen a fair amount. Like talking about it, seeing it.
Nice, cool cinematic trailer helping explain the lore and them going just deeper into the kind of mechanics for this. I guess good for people who might have missed the announcement.
Yeah, wasn't a lot of new stuff in here, but still just reminded me again how I do think this game is doing a lot to stand out as a battle royale. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's probably not a game I'd play that much because I don't play other really battle royales, but I definitely could see this getting an audience. This doesn't feel like a battle royale that would just come and fade away like so many others. At least it feels like it's setting itself up for success better than a lot of other ones entering the market does, because the chaos, the speed of it, the abilities, like verticality, and the fact that it has you get this crown and you have to hold this crown for 40 seconds to win, rather than having the storm circle.
We were talking during the actual conference that I kind of liked how different it is. Since the circle doesn't close, the whole map is viable at all times and all that kind of stuff. And I think they did the idea they have sounds cool as far as not having the circle.
It's a golden snitch, pretty much.
Like incentivizing not hiding and getting to the action.
It's cool to have a different way to bring everyone together. You need some way for progressively, towards the end of the match, everyone comes together, and I think that's a pretty unique way. And I could definitely, especially with being squads, I can see in the previews that I heard people, they were already talking about how they saw the crown there, but there was people everywhere, so they kind of just camped out and waited for someone else to grab it and then pounced on them. And different strategies like that could be really cool. And it sounds like once the crown comes out, it's just chaos of everyone bloodbath trying to kill each other.
You might notice, I'm just kind of curious for the crown thing. Does it have to be 45 straight seconds, or is it kind of
I don't know that.
Yeah, I guess I don't know exactly how all that works as far as what you do to lose it, or is this you lose it when you die type thing?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That makes my whole question.
I'm not sure if it's collective. You get collective seconds.
I have to imagine when it says 45 seconds, odds are most matches end with just people killing each other.
Yeah, because if you kill everyone else, then you just hold the crown. I think the crown is just a means to it. Then the crown is a thing to bring everyone together. It's probably
some mind games.
It's probably one of those if you're fast enough and crafty enough, you might be able to win with everyone else still alive if you can get away.
That just might be a strategy that some people come up with to just get the crown and just keep it and run away.
Especially if you're in a squad of 3, the other 2 can cover you as you just dodge and duck
use
and
the
run
ability
away from everyone. Yeah,
they focus mastering abilities to run away.
Yeah, and put up the wall. Get the hell out of here. Yeah, that could definitely be cool. I think it's a cool looking game. And beta is going on right now.
Right now, PC, free battle pass.
It's only PC right now.
Yeah, that's cool.
Finally,
we got some Assassin's Creed Valhalla gameplay. Phil Spencer finally delivered.
See, Phil Spencer, they didn't lie. They said, stay tuned for Assassin's Creed Valhalla gameplay in 2 months. We just all missed the 2 months part. They said it under their breath.
Yeah. Crafty little Philly. I don't know how much we actually need to talk about this, because we talked about Assassin's Creed gameplay from what we saw last week because it leaked. But I guess they showed different stuff here.
They did. Generally, I think the leaks generally
pretty much showed raids.
They were pretty good for obviously it was very unpolished then, where this looked more polished, but it was pretty much the same type of gameplay. We got a good idea from that.
It's kind of more explained how the story is going to go. It's you got these maps and you can see who you have allies where and all that kind of stuff. Showed kind of way all the stuff you can do in combat more than because the combat was relatively simple in the thing we saw last week, where at least this one had a lot more variety with using multiple shields to rush down people
and
have a rope thing to grapple them,
grapple
people, and
fire, throwing stuff, projectiles, all those other things. I think people are going to love this game. I'm sure this is checking a bunch of boxes for a bunch of people. It looks like if you like Assassin's Creed Odyssey and you like Assassin's Creed Origins, I'm sure you're going to like this game. Yeah. And if you didn't like those two, like me and Jeff don't really care for that, then, where I don't think either of us are really interested in all, and I can't see that changing.
Nope. Well, especially since this comes out 2 days, November 17th, before Cyberpunk. So
Yeah, hell no.
yeah, they have I was curious what they were gonna do. I guess at this point they had to put them close together. Watch Dogs and Assassin's Creed are pretty close together, like 3 weeks apart.
Yeah, that's probably just the way the cookie crumbles because Watch Dogs getting delayed so much.
Yeah,
wasn't supposed to be this way, but
yep. And finally, the last thing they showed, Far Cry 6, a surprise announcement, Darby. We had no way to know this was coming.
Shocker! What?
Yeah. The show as far as the actual game, they showed a kind of like TV intro style thing to announce it.
It was very artistic looking. It was a little like True Detective or 007 intro or something. I'm just gonna go and throw it out there that even if we didn't know Far Cry was coming in any way, shape, or form, we probably would have started seeing that. It's like, this is ending a Ubisoft thing. This is Far Cry. Oh yeah.
Because the moment you see like dictator stuff, like it's probably Far Cry.
Yeah, you see like propaganda, bullets, all these other things, and it's like we would have gone into this conference being like, yeah, there's a very good chance there's Far Cry because it's a Ubisoft thing. I thought the cinematic was really well. The cinematic after that title thing was really well done. I mean, it was Far Cry. Like all the way through, Far Cry has had very memorable and well acted villains that they just always have. Obviously, Voss is like everyone's favorite, but Pagan Min was really, really good. The creepy cultish Christian dude, or whatever, in Far Cry 5. Yeah, I didn't play the game, but I saw enough of it. Like, he's also pretty like wacky but interesting bad guy. And this one played by John Carlos Esposito. Definitely seems like another one that's just like
getting a lot of work lately,
instantly memorable, and I would have I think it was well done.
He's the perfect Far Cry bad guy.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's definitely feeding into a lot of like kind of African country unrest thing or whatever, and I'm sure it won't be completely well equipped to handle that like super well. I'm sure it's going to be like.
I'm very curious. I was curious if there's going to be anything in there for you to kind of confirm that kid is Voss.
Nothing that I could see. I'm sure there's things where Voss hints at his past, but it's been so long since I played it that I don't remember that stuff. I still think it probably is. I think that Scar is like being in the exact perfect spot, and doesn't that kind of seem like, I mean, especially if Far Cry is starting to lose popularity, it's just like the same thing as Pokemon going back to Gen 1. It's like, oh, everyone always reveres Far Cry 3. Well, let's tie it to Far Cry 3 so that people get excited again. It just seems like I'm not saying they should do that. I hope they don't like mess up Voss. I hope they don't make like weaken him as a character or something. But like, it just makes sense to me as a business suit decision to be like, oh, well, these games are starting to lose popularity. Let's go back to this. Let's tie it back to the one that everyone cares about.
I'm curious though, like if Far Cry actually is overall losing popularity. Like, I know New Dawn did as well, but that was kind of a side game. I feel like 5 sold very well.
Yeah, I'm probably wrong. 5 probably didn't.
It's one of those games. It was one of those games in our circles didn't make much of a splash, but. It was, I think it was continuing on the PDs and pretty high up for that year. Yeah, that's true. But even if it is gaining popularity, I mean, it's just something to like. There are going to be more headlines about this if it's like Voss than, if it's not. 100%. And it is coming out February 18th, 2021. And we did not see any gameplay, but this isn't the only Ubisoft Forward we're getting this year. They didn't put a date on it, but they said sometime later this year. I was hoping it'd be one of those things where they're like, and it's coming in August or something. Yeah. So unfortunately, Dari, that means probably anyone who said Gods and Monsters was being shown is going to lose points on that bet, because we did not see that. That's the main bummer from this. Like, maybe it'll squeak right in there by the end of the cutoff. Like, I guess we can also just talk about what wasn't here. I didn't expect Beyond Good and Evil 2 here. Yeah. Like, there's always a chance, maybe, whatever, but I didn't expect it. No. Gods and Monsters, I definitely 100% expected. I did. Kind of bummed about that, so I was curious to see what that game looks like now and what direction they went. I would have been more interested in. Yeah, but it's weird because it's like not a ton was here, but it also just doesn't feel like we should have enough for a whole nother one of these, at the same time. So as far as like you look at this list and what they actually showed from them, they pretty much went they went pretty in depth for Watch Dogs Legion. Then they had the Brawlhalla, Might and Magic, Tom Clancy, and Rainbow Six.
I mean, it was like Watch Dogs, Hyperscape, and Assassin's Creed were like the bulkiness.
Yeah,
of it.
that's kind of what I'm getting at. And then the
6,
Far Cry thing at the end, which was at least like, I don't know, probably about 8 to 10 minutes between both things, probably. So pretty much 4 big things they actually put a significant amount of time in. I think this thing ended up being about 45 minutes long.
Which I appreciate the length. I mean, so
you look at potentially what they could do for another Ubisoft Forward with what they have. They're going to show Far Cry 6 gameplay. Like, I think we can agree that's definitely happening. Gods and Monsters.
Yeah, Rainbow Six, Quarantine, even if that was a new name.
And then potentially show off some, like, depending when it is, show off a little more Watch Dogs and Assassin's Creed to just promote it. Yeah. Not saying like big things, but a little trailer.
Yeah, you could have enough. I mean, I do think we'll end up in the long run wishing that it was just one event, like an E3 style thing. Like, this is the problem with these, is I don't think we need more than one Ubisoft event for a summer. You know, it's like it's already questionable enough for Ubisoft to have their own thing, and to have 2 different ones, it's just like it's probably gonna end up feeling like padded, like not necessary. This is why I am still firmly in the camp that I wish that we just still had E3, because I like it all being video game Christmas in 1 week. So yeah, it was an okay show. I don't think it was like offensive in any way, but it was. I mean, I knew going in that I wasn't going to care about any of the games. At least Watch Dogs Legion had a cool trailer, and I mean, so did Far Cry 6. But
yeah, I don't think pacing was too bad as far as what they were doing. Like, they made it clear, like, okay, we're going to go in depth with a couple games, and I don't think any of the stuff are like overly long or necessarily uninteresting. Even, you know, most of these games were stuff we were interested in, but they're showing stuff we're fine.
It was pretty tight. They didn't waste a lot of time. There was nothing I was really interested in, but yeah, as far as like a conference and its pacing, like, I mean, and Ubisoft has had bloated, incredibly long press conferences before, and this, I'm glad to see this wasn't that.
So here's where I'm at as far as the whole E3 versus this separate thing. I would definitely be okay with going back to the E3 consolidate thing, but to add on to that, I'd also be okay with companies like Ubisoft and EA just keeping the digital event, because I feel like that helps take care of the fluff in those presentations.
Yeah, but just like maybe one digital event.
Oh no! I'm just saying, like, instead of having the big like
conference,
it'd be a digital event like this. Like, EA's thing was better and more well paced. Same thing with Ubisoft for what they had.
No, yeah. Oh, I'm fine with it. I'm even fine with it all being digital. I just like it being like, okay, we have to, like, you know, everyone's doing this for this week. We need to like be there for that week. I know that's not the best for the people actually making the games, but when they come, they're like this summer, and we're gonna have this entire conversation as a main topic, I'm sure, later this summer. But there's just too much. There are too many events, and the vast majority of them do not have enough to justify themselves. It's like there's a few little like gems here and there, and if you put all those gems together, you could have a cool showcase. But separate, it just gets to be like, goddamn, it's impossible.
This summer's events brought to you by Haven.
Yes, for real, dude. I'm surprised they didn't show up here. It's like, hey, we're not tied to Ubisoft at all, but we're here.
You know, time to talk about a conference we are very excited for.
Yes.
So this is a lot. We're gonna talk about Microsoft. There's a lot here to talk about Microsoft explaining multiple things. So let's get into it, baby.
This one's basically is gonna be E3, probably.
Yeah, this is, just pair this with the PlayStation thing, and should be a weapon effort. Yeah. So Xbox announced their live stream, their Xbox Series X first party game live stream thing, whatever it is, July 23rd. The thing is, I think, you know, I just want to put that in there. There are a lot of people talking about third party things being there as well. I don't know if Microsoft has said that particularly yet. I feel like they announced this as a first party thing. People are getting hyped up for all these third party things, and we've kind of mentioned it. I don't know if they themselves have mentioned it.
Yeah.
So, if it is, cool, awesome, I'll take it. But if there isn't there, just keep your hype.
I wonder, did they ever actually like officially say this is a first party event? I just
can't
remember.
Well, they called it like an Xbox Game Studios thing.
Okay, yeah.
So I think that's fair enough. Like, make it sound like these are first parties only.
I would assume, you know, if you're gonna assume something, I would probably assume just first party.
But I feel like Jeffy Grubb and stuff have kind of said that hint at third parties there was I believe Jeff Grubb at this point.
Yeah.
But also, Microsoft hasn't said it themselves, so it's kind of like, let's temper expectations.
And apparently they have another event in August, even though that's apparently more console-based.
Yeah, that one's supposed to be, as far as we know, completely hardware-based.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But even just first party, I'm still pretty interested. Obviously, third party.
So you want to go through studios and talk about potential predictions and wants and all that kind of fun stuff?
Sure. And what I'm hoping this event has some things that we just can't predict.
Yeah. So 343 Industries, we are seeing Halo. They already said we're getting a first look at the Halo's campaign.
I don't know, dude.
They said we're getting the first look at the Halo campaign, which that's exciting.
Yes. No,
we want to see that.
We keep talking about how they have to be able to sell someone like you with no ties to Halo whatsoever, and that's the chance. That's the time.
Yep. Compulsion Games. So they announced this acquisition 2 years ago. We haven't really seen anything from them since. I think we've seen some We Happy Few like DLC stuff, but nothing crazy.
When did We Happy Few come out?
I think it was 2018. I can pull that real quick. It's right here. I think August 2018. So I think, especially since they might have already started working on a game before that, I think we'll see a game from them here.
I do too, and I think with some of these, you might see games earlier than you normally would have because Xbox wants to sell a console and be like, look at all these games we have in development. So I could see there being several games with just teaser trailer just to be like, Compulsion's working on something. Here's a vague idea of it.
Yeah, especially they want to show that them buying these studios is paying off.
Yeah. So. There's definitely gonna be some games that we walk away with like, I don't really know. Like, didn't see enough to know about this game, but
Double Fine. We are definitely getting Psychonauts 2 here. Believe it.
Yeah, if we don't, I'm real sad.
Yeah, what's also very exciting, I can tie this in with this. GameIndustry.biz did a awesome series of articles, just 2 articles talking to recent studio heads from the studios Microsoft has acquired, talking about their time with Microsoft and what that means for them and what Game Pass means and all that. Yeah. It's a very good read. But I skimmed it very close attention mainly to like the Psychonaut stuff with Tim Schafer and that kind of stuff, and he pretty much said like for a couple things, because of Microsoft money, they were able to put back in scrap boss fights into Psychonauts 2. Well, actually, the way he made it sounds like they might have been like almost no boss fights, but they added them back. They were able to add them back into the game. That
is awesome. That's the good side of being bought out by a corporation. I mean, it feels like at the moment from what we have to go off of from everyone that has worked with them recently, it seems like Microsoft is being very hands off with these people. Like you have money.
They even say that one of the I think it might have been Mr. Booty. We're saying like, you just go in there, kind of pitch us general ideas, or may not even that. Go lock in and then show us when you have something concrete, and just kind of.
I think it was one of the other, like, I don't remember which one it was. I just heard that like someone else on one of these studios said it's like, we've barely even talked to Microsoft. We basically just got the funding and the money, and there's like we kind of forget that we're even owned by them. We just like work on our shit.
And going back to Tim Schafer, he was talking about like he's so happy he doesn't have to actually go and pitch games necessarily to people, and he has this big folder of ideas that he's like, no one's going to pay for this, but he's like, just because of Game Pass and all that kind of stuff, and Microsoft just wanting weird content like. A wide range of content on there that he could pull out that folder and kind of take those ideas. It's like, okay, we can actually do this stuff now.
It's a really interesting angle to all of this that Game Pass can kind of unlock, like that AA that like it's not the big blockbuster thing, but like could have some. I mean, we talk about a lot of these big AAA companies and stuff being pretty static and making a lot of the same type of games, but something like Game Pass that it's like. Yeah, it doesn't have to light the world on fire because you just have people on the subscription service that you're just getting consistent money from, and like they might check it out when they never would have previously.
Yeah,
they never would have like gambled and spent $30 on your weird ass game. But if you have Game Pass, it's like sure, why not?
And I think a lot of the studios that Microsoft have been buying up to this point is like they're very good ones. Like okay, you just kind of do what you want, and that just that fills up a unique catalog for Microsoft.
Yeah.
And for the game studios, like, okay, we have more funding and all that kind of stuff to do kind of, what we want.
Like it's a good reality when you have Unchained Double Fine. You can have Tim Schafer doing whatever the hell he wants. That's just a good reality. Yep. Brutal Legend was a good game, and no one gives it enough credit. That was a really good game.
Fun game. In Exile Entertainment, I think we're just going to see Wasteland 3. I think that's
we already know what they're working on and all that stuff.
Mojang Studios. There's gonna be some kind of Minecraft.
Could be some Minecraft staying at Prince money.
Yeah. Ninja Theory. According to Jeff Grubb, we are apparently seeing Hellblade 2 here.
Very interesting. Interesting to see what exactly.
I honestly did not expect that.
No, I didn't either, because I thought that game was. I mean, I still think that game's probably further away than people think, but I mean, it might be one of those. Just like we said, the same thing with Compulsion. It's like Xbox just wants to be able to say, look at all these games. So like we might not see extensive Hellblade 2 gameplay or something. It could be another kind of more cinematic trailer. I mean, the only thing we've seen is like weird chanting music video type thing. Like we really haven't seen much about the actual game, what it does. Which will be interesting. I mean, it's again kind of weird to me. I love Hellblade, but it's kind of weird to me how much Hellblade's being sold as like a poster game for Xbox, when like Hellblade is not a very mass appeal type game. It's a very like weird artsy thing that like a lot of people would not like, and just it's weird to see like sitting you up there on Xbox posters. It's like, huh.
Hey, Kojima was able to sell people Death Stranding.
That's just, I mean, it's true. He's Kojima. He's a long history.
Okay, Obsidian. I don't know what we'll see from them. They I'm blanking on that Honey, I Shrunk the Kids style game.
I guess Grounded.
Guess we might see more of that.
Yeah, I would count on seeing that, but that's the only thing I would count on seeing. Like the main Obsidian, like the one that made Outer Worlds, I can't imagine that they're anywhere unless it's like Outer Worlds DLC or something. But I can't imagine that
could be neat.
I can't imagine they're at a point where they can talk about another game.
The big one, Darby. Playground games. Is it happening?
I think so. I'm like the most hesitant. I think so.
We've been talking about the studios up to this point. Like, okay, they're gonna show stuff because they want to sell their box. They want to show what they're doing. Playground Games working on a Fable game or an RPG in general has been a rumor, something we've known about for literal years at this point. Like. The year we started doing this, 3 years ago, the rumors popped up about a Fable game.
That was like some of our earliest stories on this podcast.
Yeah. So, and Phil pretty much said with the studio that, they are working on an RPG. Like, in 2018, because that's when they were purchased.
Yeah, at E3. He's like, they're using their open world expertise. I think... I do honestly. I mean, I'm so skeptical because the game means so much to me. I'm so worried about it and everything. I do think that like it's gonna happen. I think like the worst case, I think at the very least it's going to be a cinematic thing with no data window or anything, like just a confirmation that it's there because it's at least been in development long enough for like same thing we were talking about. Compulsion, like Xbox just wants all the articles to be like, and this game, and this game, and this game, and this game. So at the very least, I feel like there has to be a cinematic thing with a Fable 4. That's the low end. I do think there's a possibility we get more than that. I don't think it's going to be a complete blowout, like gameplay all over the place and everything like that. Or like, I think at the end, the best we're going to get is like a 2021 or something. But I think there's a chance for more than just a teaser trailer.
Potential prediction. As far as like the way this thing will, the conference will be done, I think you start with Halo, since that's an obvious thing. Show that off, get people fucking hyped. End with that Fable announcement, do with that. I know Fable, like we talked about it last week. That is Fable a big thing and all that kind of stuff. Like it's sold well and everything, but people don't see hype for it. But I think with the potential, like the way that game is. And just the kind of game it is, just having that kind of new thing, especially depending on what they have to show, is a good way to close this thing. A fan favorite and something that could be mass appeal.
Well, it's also interesting. I mean, this conference is one of the most, like, I'm not saying it's going to be the best. In fact, it might be disappointing, but I think, like, this is one of the most interesting conferences I think I've ever gone into, because it just feels like the stakes are so damn high and it's like so questionable. Like I think Halo Infinite and Fable both kind of have something to prove. Like I think both of those have to come in here and be like, hey, you might not have been into these IPs before, but you can't ignore it now. It has to be like Halo just has to be like concept wise. I think in a weird way, even though it wouldn't matter as much to me, I think Fable needs to look gorgeous. I think that game needs to be like, what the fuck? Like, it looks like, Last of Us Part 2, but better. It look like it's going to be a fantasy thing, more colors, but like it needs to like just punch you in the face with like, dear God.
Strangely enough, the fact that these people worked on Forza is kind of like, it should be a good looking game.
Probably, yeah.
So I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out there to you. I hope it's not the case, and I don't necessarily think this would be the case, but what if it's like a new IP, RPG IP?
Yeah, I would definitely be more bummed because, it probably... I would be interested. I mean, I'm always interested in... RPGs are my favorite genre of game, and I'd be interested to see what it does and everything, but there's a reason why I specifically... It's not just nostalgia. I legitimately think Fable does very unique, interesting things in the RPG space that just other games did not take and run with. And I wish that they had. There was elements of those games that I think RPGs would be in a better place if people had like learned lessons from those, or if Fable had been able to keep going. So that's a reason. I mean, they can take departures with it, but there's just like there's core things at Fable that I think like you would love. I think a bunch of people who like know nothing about Fable, I'm like, y'all would love this if we just could bring it into the modern era and really, and this would be a great stage to get people like, oh shit, did you see that Fable? Yeah.
Good answer. That's next one, Rare. This is an interesting one. Because I'm blanking on the name of that game.
Dear game. I'll look it up.
Yeah. The game they announced last year, I imagine we're going to be seeing more. I don't think that's controversial. But I think with Jeff Grubb kind of hinting at that apparently there's another game that they're working on besides that one. And,
Everwild?
Yeah,
Everwild.
That's it. Yeah. Might be something more besides Everwild or, more Sea of Thieves content. Of course I want Banjo, just in general. We've talked about it a lot. I think Banjo's going to come back in some way during this generation. I don't necessarily think it's... In fact, I would say it's probably not going to be Rare making that if it did happen at this point.
I don't know how big Rare is. I mean, they're doing Everwild in this. I mean, maybe they're bigger than I think, but like, I don't know.
Man, I look at like that second year that's on that list is the year they were bought. They've almost been under Microsoft for 20 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's weird to think about. So it'll be cool. It'll be cool to see more Everwild just in general. That would be awesome. And especially if we get another new game from them, that'd also be hype.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's a possibility. I mean, I expect to see Everwild. It's been a long time, but
they're a creative and quirky bunch. So yeah,
I would be very interested to see what they would do in a new IP. But see, they might just be on like games as a service type support for Sea of Thieves for years to come. Yeah.
The Coalition, I think it's safe to say we're probably not seeing anything from them. Yeah. The Initiative. So this is an interesting one. People have been kind of hyping themselves up for the potential of seeing this game from them. It's a new studio that Microsoft made 2 years ago. It's hard to say what.
Didn't we hear someone recently said they're not going to be there?
Jeff Grubb.
Okay.
So I tend to believe him, so that's why I'm thinking it may not happen. They've only been around for 2 years and all that kind of stuff.
Might not be long
trying
enough,
to fill about their job positionings last year. May not. But also at the same time, like we've been saying for other ones, they could just throw out a teaser trailer if they're working on like the rumor kind of going around is Perfect Dark.
Yeah, the only way the teaser thing like that would work is if it is something like Perfect Dark that people would just be like, people would recognize and know. But judging by like Crystal Dynamics people and stuff like that, it's probably going to be a pretty big big game. It'll probably take multiple years. So.
Yep. So take your time. Turn 10 Studios. We're seeing Forza. Come on.
It's a new console, babe.
Yeah,
you got it.
Undead Labs. I don't know. I guess we might see more State of Decay stuff. I don't know. Who knows?
Can't imagine State of Decay 2 did very well. It might be time to just move on. I'm sorry.
Yeah. World's Edge. We're seeing some Age of Empires stuff. I don't know exactly what the state of that what's coming out and what's not is. Or they announced like a 4 recently or something with the next one. So
there was a new one and the 2 remastered somewhat close together, but I don't think the new one has come out yet. So
we're seeing that stuff.
Yeah, so that's
safe to say.
New one they've already shown.
Now this is one that could be interesting, Darby. Xbox Game Studios publishing. That's something that they said is they're gonna do more of, like with Tell Me Why, which I'm going to assume we both agree is probably gonna be there.
Yeah. Probably.
So, as far as filling up their lineup during this thing, just some stuff for a bunch of random studios that will be under the Xbox Game Studios banner.
They already they give Moon Studios with Ori, do more like smaller indie studios, pull them in.
I mean, like I was saying, I expect that's how Banjo will happen. If
probably,
and when it happens.
So, some second party company,
we'll just make Banjo, and they can do that for a bunch other stuff, like for new IPs and all that. So that would be interesting. That is definitely the wild card as far as this thing goes.
Yeah, you can't really predict that very well.
Yeah, and that's what makes it interesting is that there's a possibility for at least a couple of games under that banner.
I hope they do. I mean, because you even see Sony is starting to now. They're like, we have the Iron Man license, so we're gonna get this, second party studio that we don't own, or let them publish an Iron Man game. Xbox, if Xbox has no interest in using their actual studios they own to make Banjo, like you said, fucking license that out. It's such a as an IP people want. Just get someone else to make that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially since for the most part, all the other studios, we have a pretty good idea of what they're working on. Some of them might have an extra game that we know about, but so yeah. Just based off that, that's a pretty interesting conference lineup potentially.
Ignore the fact that Sanzaru just got bought by Facebook. They're going to get Sanzaru. They're going to make a Banjo game. And at the very end, Banjo's going to be in a boat somewhere. And it's like, oh, what's going to happen to Banjo? And then Sanzaru will never make another Banjo again.
And you're like, Kazooie, we're on a boat.
You're never going to get a resolution.
Okay, so let's see. So one other Microsoft related thing to talk about, Darby. Microsoft apparently interested in buying WB Interactive.
Woo! And I on this very podcast was like, Sony, Xbox,
I think we
Nintendo,
both were
it's not gonna be them, which it still might not be. But there's no way.
Yeah, but now it's a possibility for Microsoft.
Or at least they've obviously been looking at it, which I'm kind of surprised even that much is
in
happened.
interviews, Phil said, we're not necessarily done looking at studios. They also mentioned they're gonna look at kind of acquire at a similar pace as what they have been doing. So people are
this is their previous acquisitions have been cool, but this would be so much more.
It's just the quantity of studios.
You get so many.
Yeah. So, but that could be Phil just saying stuff. That doesn't necessarily mean one way or the other unless he's just completely serious about it.
It's super interesting, and I legitimately would be interested to see because just as we talked about before, so a lot of the big name game and a lot of the big studios that would be part of this WB acquisition have IPs that are not leaving Warner Brothers, between the Harry Potter stuff, the Batman stuff, probably even Mortal Kombat. I don't know, Mortal Kombat could go in their own, but there's a bunch of those that studios like Rocksteady that are just known for those DC things, and WB Montreal now making a new Batman thing that might spin off into a new series or something like that. Mm-hmm. Does Xbox have incentive if they buy them? It's do we want y'all to just keep making Warner Brother licensed games for now until the end of time, or do we want to slowly get y'all off of those to do something that we own? It's I could see them just carry on doing that. You have Batman, so even if you don't make as much money, it's whatever, you have Batman. But I could also see them being okay, make this Batman game and then stop, Yeah,
and that just completely depends on how the deal works out, because people are still wondering, so how exactly is it going to work with the DC properties? Obviously, they're not going to own the DC characters, but how's that if they're just going to be licensed out? Will be a kind of a weird thing of they might own the video game rights to those characters. Probably not that, but
probably.
Imagine it'd be
that would be a lot more money.
Sure. Probably an exclusive licensing deal or something, maybe.
Probably, no matter what, they would be less money than their own IPs. But
so it'd be a very interesting thing, and honestly, it's a weird thing where from the list of potential buyers, now it's the ones that have been listed: Microsoft, EA, Activision, and Take-Two. Just from a game quality standpoint or the vision standpoint, I'd probably prefer Microsoft out of those.
It is, so I mean, even though I have a PC to play all these games or whatever, but like having Mortal Kombat become console exclusive would be a pretty big bummer. And honestly, that's a game I would probably still buy for PS5 because like I want to have that on the couch to play it with y'all. I don't want to have that on my PC necessarily. And that, I mean, I get it, but that would be a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, that is obviously the downside if Microsoft were to theoretically buy it and get the Mortal Kombat IP. Though, potentially, I'm 50-50 on if they would do this. With Minecraft, obviously, I know Minecraft is its own beast, obviously. Much bigger beast. They let it on every platform still.
Yeah.
I could see them potentially doing that Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Mortal Kombat is potentially big enough, and Microsoft is just becoming a lot more open in general about having their games on Switch and other things like that. They haven't crossed to PS4 yet outside of Minecraft, but it's not out of their own.
If they're going to make an exception for something like that, I can see it. They're doing
and
it.
And it's kind of a similar thing for Minecraft. Minecraft, it was like, oh, Minecraft's already everywhere, so it's like, okay, we're not going to take it away necessarily. They might have a similar thing with.
Well, and it's also with Minecraft in particular. It's like you would lose a lot more money.
Just makes so much more,
a lot more money making it exclusive to your stuff. I guess it would still be on PC, but the Switch and PS4, you still want it on there. Like you make a lot more money on that.
You
than
want
it
on everything with a screen. You want on smart fridges.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Just because of that, I continuously forget that Minecraft is a Microsoft IP.
It's weird. I'm sure it helps Microsoft quite a bit.
Yep.
That was goodbye, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Dermy. Are we done with the Microsoft talk?
I reckon so, Jeffrey.
Time to talk about another conference show thingamabob that happened yesterday.
Time to delve into chaos.
Devolver Digital had their direct. They actually used the word direct.
Yeah,
they actually,
and Nintendo's lawyers will be contacting them soon.
Yeah. So, they didn't have too many crazy game announcements.
If I only see 5 things here.
Yeah, there is a 6th one that I, for some reason, put on here that we can talk about. So, we get through those quick and then talk about the craziness that is that conference.
Yeah, which, I mean, to be clear, I did not see the conference. I had other
then it
things
could be fun me explaining you some of the stuff that
there you
go. Shadow Warriors 3 coming out 2021. Look crazy. It's just a crazy first-person action thing. You got a bunch of guns and swords and all that kind of stuff. Very bloody. Very bloody.
So bloody.
Cool character designs. Fall Guys releasing August 4th on PC and PS4. All right, this game kind of looks fun and jolly. Do you remember this game?
Another name. I know I've heard the name.
It's like a battle royale thing, but it's like a weird Mario Party-esque obstacle course thing where you're starting like 60 players and you keep on going doing these crazy things until it's down to 1. It was like a fun time, honestly.
Okay.
I'm curious to see more like if there's a way to get easy way to get like if me and you both got this game, we'd be in the same one, or what would happen, or bless you. Easy Allies were talking about could they make their own room and have like Twitch viewers? They're like on a stream, do that kind of stuff. Cool. But this is like a fun one. I might keep an eye on.
Cool.
Just like a fun, jolly thing.
Cool.
Carrion releasing July 23rd.
That's the good.
Don't have long on PC, Switch, and Xbox One, and also gonna be on Game Pass day 1, where at least I will play it. Yeah,
we've talked about this a good bit. It's shown up in a bunch of places. It's like you're playing as a horror monster, basically. It's like they call it a reverse horror game because you're like eating people as this giant blob. And from the little bit we played, it actually, it's one of those like action games that kind of feels like a puzzle game almost, because it's like you got to take out this guy and then dodge this and do that and do. It seems definitely interesting, and it's probably something I wouldn't buy, but being on Game Pass, it's like, sure,
give it a shot.
That's the good thing about Game Pass.
Ouija
board, Joe.
Oh, okay. That's spelled differently. Whatever.
It's like the thing.
Yeah, but it's spelled
the same.
whatever. Fall 2020 on PC and Switch. A demo is out right now. It is very confusing during the conference because it made it sound like it was out now. But it was just a demo.
Maybe it's Elijah. I don't know.
Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood, the game.
There we go. Looks pretty neat. It's kind of like 2D pixely action game. Look fun. Serious Sam 4 out in August on Steam and Stadia. Look crazy and wacky and all that kind of stuff. I can appreciate that. And for the big one more thing, they announced Devolver Land Expo. Do you know what that is, Dari? Described as a first-person marketing simulator, this free mini-game places you in an abandoned conference center and has you fighting and puzzling your way to find Devolver-themed goodies, including trailers of games shown in the Direct. I got that downloaded.
So you're at like an empty E3.
Yes, and there are different booths based on the games that were included in the Direct. And apparently, 2 games that weren't in the Direct being Blightbound and Weird West.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's free. I downloaded it. I'll probably give it a try because why not?
That's bizarre. That's great.
I appreciate it. Okay, Darren, let's talk about let's talk about the actual meat at the conference. the
storyline. I forgot. That was the unimportant section.
Yeah, the unimportant section of this talk. So naturally, they did a quick recap at the beginning, which I appreciated.
Of the lore?
Of the lore or what happening. Or that kind
Previously on Devolver Digital conferences.
Yeah, and of course they make jokes. Is like, at one point they make a joke like, E3's canceled. Like, what? Like, we gotta change everything! And do all kind of fun stuff. I think the thing ended up being 45 minutes, was crazy considering they only announced like 6 games, but they had a lot of bits in there. It was just entertaining all the way through.
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate what they do.
Yeah.
But they also had some surprise guests, Darby, and I want to go through this for you.
Nice.
I originally had it in there. It's like, it'll be fun since you don't know. They had Shu there.
Wow.
To introduce Fall Guys. They did a little bit where they're like, we originally had 2 other Fall Guys to talk to you, but apparently they just like eating each other.
They just
like eating each other, so they ate each other or something.
Of course.
She was like, they were talking to she like that, like of course. And she's like, well, they did look very delicious. It's just kind of like she being into it. It's a fun little thing.
Awesome.
Yeah, and he was there for Fall Guys because she was now the head of like
the
indie thing or whatever. And he made a joke about cutting the trailer, but I can't remember if they said just because I was watching the Easy Eyes reaction to it. I can't hear if they said like that was a joke or not. Oh, he might have cut the trailer for Fall Guys. I'm not sure. Phil Spencer was there.
Wow, nice. Bringing some big names, not afraid to go into the crazy zone.
Yeah, so while he was there to help introduce Carrion, where he was talking to the monster from Carrion.
Yes.
Which is a big puppet thing, of course.
How good was the puppet? How good was the Carrion?
10 out of 10 puppet, you know? Like, that is sitting in someone's office right as we speak.
Giant blob.
And also, I don't know if you remember, Dory, this like secretary assistant person in the previous ones, trying to bring everything down. She was doing it over, and she needed help with someone called the architect. We saw who the architect was during this thing.
It was Reggie.
It was Jeff Keighley.
Nice. Nice.
So he was there doing all that kind of stuff. Let's see. Then at some point, they show off because the crazy person behind all this, the head of Devolver in this lore, she was like, we the consumers, we don't care about the actual products, we just want hype. Hype fuels us, so we don't care if the game comes out, we just want the announcements. So they just announced fake games.
Nice.
So they had a couple there, and they had a couple guests during those things. One was Sonic Fox.
Nice.
Nice. Announcing Sonic Fox Furry Fighter 4.
I'm waiting for it's gonna that's gonna actually become a game now. Like,
yeah, even if we don't have the first 3,
they're gonna meme it into existence.
No, and there was also another special guest, Darby. Geralt of Rivia.
As a CG thing or Henry Cavill or the actor.
So they just showed a shot of his tub. Which sounded like Geralt. I assume it was him, just his voice talking.
So, did it sound like the actual voice actor?
It sounded like him, yeah. Admittedly, it was kind of not as loud on their reaction, so maybe it wasn't so. I was like, of
what
course.
What did Geralt have to say?
He sounded very confused about what's going on. And I don't even know what they technically announced for him. Like, I guess it was like an N64 version of Witcher. I don't know. I don't think it was even that. And of course, they had my uncle that works for Nintendo there.
Oh, yeah.
We're bringing out the big bits,
Wow.
like explaining we were going to have like a Kirby game this year, but he got divorced and he's busy trying to get money for alimony.
You hate to see it.
Yeah, and in 2023, we're getting a Pitman Battle Royale.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that checks out. That's probably actually happening.
Yeah, and he bought the scoop for one of the games. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You have Nintendo answers now.
Yeah. And finally, during the credits where everyone was kind of like waving at the camera, we had Suda51 teasing no more of him playing No More Heroes 3 on a screen.
Oh my god! Can you was he blocking the screen again?
No, we could see the screen, but it was like the camera far away and him like turning around like, and the screen No More Heroes 3 like Suda.
Such a troll. It's great.
So this was a fun show. It's one of those like I'm I want to do it over what we did yesterday, hang out with our friends and stuff. But it's one of those things. If we weren't doing anything, I kind of wish we kind of react to it just for the fun.
Yeah, or wish these 2 days were switched.
Yeah.
With the Ubisoft and Devolver.
Yeah. So that happened. It was a fun show. Games look cool. So yeah.
Nice.
Okay, Darty.
Cool stuff.
We're getting close to the end. We got other news.
Other news.
Other news. This one maybe should have potentially. We'll see how it goes. Been its own thing. Sony invests $250 million in Epic Games.
Well, it kind of should, and kind of it's one of those things that sounds like a big deal when you say it, but when you stop and really start thinking about it, I really don't think it actually means as much as it sounds like it does.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Because it's for context, I think it was
1.7%.
Yeah,
stake in the company now.
Really small,
which
minority.
means what they have valued for Epic Games is insane.
Billions. Yeah, it's great. I mean, this legitimately could just be as simple as a company trying to make more money, and it's just buying stocks, and it's just a thing it does. If it means anything, I think it's going to be very minor things, like you had Unreal 5 being shown on a PS5. Yeah, that level of thing, or Sony, the fact that Fortnite is starting to do all these movie things or whatever. Sony Pictures,
movies.
Sony
I guess the other important thing that I've seen people bring up, and I think it's a very good point, that Sony is Sony investing in this stuff, company as a whole, necessarily mean that it's the video game part of it, Sony being the main reason for it or main cause.
And I don't think even this much stake in Epic is going to be grounds for this content, you get it first on PlayStation. I don't even think that will happen, because I think Epic can do whatever the fuck they want. Epic's no, we're gonna put this everywhere because we're gonna make money off of it. And your little chump change, $250 million is nothing.
Potentially, I don't even think they would do this necessarily. Yeah, but it's you get the Nintendo or Sony character skin and maybe Fortnite, maybe. So that I don't expect anything crazy.
If anything comes of it, it'd just be minor things.
Yeah, I saw people kind of making conspiracy theory type things, that's why Epic was saying, "Oh, the power of the PS5 for Unreal, it's crazy." It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose a slightly weird conflict of interest type thing, but it's just it really is not that much money in the grand scheme of things with this.
It's not 10-cent level.
It's kind of one of these things, all these people are going to be slightly biased with this. They're not going to come out and say, you kind of just have to see what the actual people working on it and just look with your own eyes about it. It's just, I don't know. I wouldn't say there's nothing there, but it's also I can't get myself all riled up about it. It just doesn't feel like that much, It's 1.7% of the company.
Soon Sony's building up. They're going to buy 10 cents and then the rest of it. That's when we're okay, Sony, you might be going a little stir crazy. You might be going a little crazy now. Might have to put you down.
Where did this fucking money come from?
Yeah. Next one. Nintendo did a thing.
Just tried to see if I could guess. The Paper Mario thing.
They did a Nintendo Treehouse.
They announced Bakugan, Fighters of Peninsula, whatever the name
Fires
is.
of Peninsula. Yeah, so they had a Nintendo Treehouse announcement that's like, we're going to show up Paper Mario. I was like, okay, cool. It's like, we also have a new game from Way Forward on an IP they haven't done before.
Oh, shit.
And at the time when the announcement happened, people, I think it was fair for people to assume that it might have been like Cadence of Hyrule, where it's like, oh, Way Forward working on a Nintendo IP. Like, I think that was fair at the time.
Yeah.
And people going crazy, and Nintendo kind of quickly is like, no, stop.
Third party.
Stop your dreams.
Cease your dreaming.
Cease this. Yeah, saying that you said it was a third party IP. So people's like, oh, okay, well, then, that's like be very cool and all that kind of stuff. Like, EC Allies were determined, like, oh, it's gonna be Castlevania. Yeah. And people had a lot of crazy ideas, and yeah, it ended up being fucking Bakugan.
And a really bad Bakugan game.
Like, it's...
And this is one of those things that, like, I want to... Obviously, in the video game industry, people, like, probably more often than the other way around, that people just, like, overhype themselves in stupid ways and then just, like, vocalize their hatred and disappointment in completely unacceptable ways. And that is really bad. But I do think there is a trend of people, like, every single announcement, it's like, if you voice any sort of dissent or like, critique or anything like that, it's like, well, you're so entitled, what'd you expect, you should have this, you should have that, whatever. It's their company, they can do what they want. Like, I'm always like, yeah, and I'm a consumer, I'm allowed to also say I didn't like the thing you did. Like, that's fine. I'm not like sending death threats or anything. Mm-hmm. But there are people that it's just like, you're not allowed to say anything bad about a company's marketing or anything they're doing. You are off limits. Like, you are being like, that's too far. I'm like, I don't know. This is because, as we talked about, well, I guess we didn't talk about it on camera, but we talked about, like, when we watched this thing, there is a absolute 0% chance that the target audience they were going for this Bakugan game was watching the stream after like 50 minutes of Paper Mario gameplay. Just, there's no chance. Well, like, this was not good for either party. There was nothing.
I mean, there's two ways to look at that. They obviously completely agree with you, because people that are Paper Mario fans that are actually into it enough to watch the Treehouse thing, waiting around for the Way Forward game, and then Bakugan. There's no way there are Bakugan fans that would be interested in this game that get excited when they're like, Way Forward's making a new game.
You wouldn't even have thought of Bakugan. Like, if Bakugan had to be the game here or whatever, you would have been better off saying, hey, we're going to show Bakugan at this Treehouse thing. Forward, yeah. Get excited about it. So maybe people who care about Bakugan would tune into this thing here or whatever. But to have this as the, like, mysterious Way Forward thing, what's it going to be? And then it's this pretty niche thing that's very little kid focused, and it's like,
doesn't look good.
It's just like
not good at all.
Yeah, it looks very, very bad. It's so fucking bizarre.
Like it's so weird. Like, I know that those games still exist. I feel like we got away from them. It just screams like licensed shovelware.
Oh yeah. And we talked about, like, I have to imagine this was going to be in a larger E3 presentation or part of just Treehouse at normal E3, and it was going to be one of multiple announcements, and we would have never talked about it. It would have been like, okay, there you go. It was like, whatever, skip that game. I have to imagine that's what this footage was supposed to be at, and then they just repurposed it for this. But man, when it's like I don't know what the thought process is behind that. You just have like an extended Paper Mario thing, and then this random shitty Bakugan game, and nothing else. Like, that's just, like, there are a bunch of games that would absolutely kill to be co-headlining a single Nintendo stream thing. Like, so many like actual good big budget games that would probably be like, yes, please, hello. It's like, so why is it a shitty Bakugan game? I don't know. And like I said, there might be an audience for it, but that audience was not watching the stream. There's none of the audience was watching that stream.
Nope.
Yeah, no, bizarre. And like I said, don't be a dick about it, but you're allowed to, like, kind of make fun of it or laugh or be like, like, oh, that was weird. Like, why'd you do that and everything? Especially when we're talking about a company that currently has one game coming out that we know about, like a time frame. And it's coming out this week. And it's about to be 0 games. So yeah, I think you're kind of allowed when you're sitting here with your Switch and be like, cool. I have nothing to be excited about this year. My Switch is about to go collect dust as far as I know. And like I think it's okay to be, critical of that. Especially when you look at like Sony and Microsoft, they are about to blow the doors off the thing and be like, yeah, what am I going to be picking my Switch up for this year? You need to know that. But, yeah.
Final thing, Derby. We got a new Super Hot game announcement. Super Hot Mind Control Delete. It's coming July 16th.
But it's inferior. But it's inferior.
Yeah, it's not VR.
Because it's not VR.
Yeah. Apparently, also, if you have the regular Super Hot bot on, I don't know if it's just Steam or some of the stuff or whatever, or any of these stores, you just get this game for free.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Damn. And it's a whole new game? It's like a sequel?
Yeah.
Damn.
Looks neat, but I need the VR version.
Yeah. Regular version is probably good. It's just hard to.
Though I will say potentially, I don't know if this was cleared up or anything, or it sounded like if you got like a free version from, let's say, like Twitch Prime or some shit like that, or something like that, something equivalent, that may not count.
Weird.
I saw someone say that. I don't know how true that is.
That is odd that they're giving it away for free to all this. But, But cool, obviously. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's the podcast. Is it not?
I believe that's a podcast. Shortest one we've had in 500 years.
And 500. We have been doing it for 500 years. So that actually is pretty impressive. The only podcast to be going for 500,000 years. Thank you so much for listening. We have cool stuff coming up. Go check out Settle It, our Super Mario RPG stream. Last of Us Part 2, Spoilercast. We are not going to be able to do live reactions to the Xbox event, but we are going to try to avoid everything until we're both here and do like a late reaction. So we will do a reaction video for it, but it will not be on Twitch. It will be just on.
And I was just reminded we are not going to do a reaction to State of Connect. I know you all wanting it. It's State of Connect on Tuesday. Everyone's
demanding it, but we will not comply. So looking forward to all those things. And until next time, go become a Power Ranger. It's your destiny. I believe in you.
Play Battle for the Grid.